So let me continue with my presentation. Uh, this is regarding the structural inversion of Paleozoic, Mesozoic in outer Himalayan fold belt of Kashmir and its implication for the hydrocarbon prospectivity. And then I will say that during this presentation and I will take you through the summary of published literature because this is important. Some people may not be understanding what is I am talking about, so it would be very summarized introduction of the published literature, then my view on that. Then I will take you through the tectonic history. This is important because we need to understand rifting stage, which was previously ignored by the many people. What happened in the past? They say simply there is no extensional tectonic signature we can see in this part of basin. So that's why I brought it into it. Then we go through the structural and lithological model of foot and hanging wall of MFT and hanging wall of MBT. Why this? Because this is the area where I am talking about. That is my focus area. Then I'll show you some geological cross sections through this zone. Then I will take into the gravity data into account, the salient features which we see, and how we take into account the erosional possibilities in this basin. Then we will see the validity of 2D seismic data in the offset area for the structural configuration. Why that? Because in that this makes a sense. We don't have any seismic in the Kashmir and the Himalayan fold and fold thrust belt in Kashmir part. That's why I take into account the offset data and do see the configuration, and I trust that configuration would be prevailing if we explore this part of this. Then I would be talking about the seeps and then the reservoirs, and finally then I will come to the end slide. This would be the potential of petroleum system in AJK basin. So here is first slide, and this is basically about the Himalayan orogen. This is telling you here, this is telling you that the Himalayan orogen is, if you want to see the whole key features, we can see the Himalayan range, the Indian Shield, the Tarim Basin, and then we see two prominent basins. I put the stars onto it, Kuhad Potwar Basin and the Assam Basin. They are about 2,800 kilometers apart, and they are hydrocarbon bearing, and the discoveries are being made from these two basins. But what's happened in between these two? Through the strip of 2,800 kilometers, we don't know, but we do see some gas seeps in the frontal part of Himalayan foreland basin. This area, I would say, this should be the Himalayan foreland part, and that would be extending into Kashmir basin. I'll be talking more onto it. So there is another slide. This is another a very quick overlook of what's happening in the east-west direction. We could see that the stratigraphy or the lithostratigraphic units decide along with the igneous from our national Bhutan, Nepal, then northwest India to salt range, and then the western hinterland basin. So you can see some continuity of the Archean Proterozoic, and then the Proterozoic, and then some Cambrian strata, then the Permian Eocene levels correlatable from one location to another location. But that is not a consistent correlation. You need to do a lot of work for the biostratigraphy, for the lithostratigraphy, sequence stratigraphy, match age dating of the igneous, so many things you put together, then you may be reaching to confirm this model basically presented by the Yen in 2006. So here is what is the summary of published literature. That's why I'm saying that it is the key to understand what I'm going to take into account. You can see that in the area I'm talking about is basically, everybody knows this has been debated since yesterday and even today by a number of speakers. They all mentioned that there is a crustal shortening. That is obvious, and you do see as a result of crustal shortening, this is basically based on the collision of Indo-Pakistani plate with the Eurasian and the other microcontinents. So we believe on this. Yes, there is a crustal shortening, and we can see the thrusting and stack sheets and imbrications this along the folding of Himalayan Karakoram region. We do see a number of models. I mean, not only one model. There are a number of authors who worked in this area. They put a model of subduction and then the stacking and then the sheets and then imbrication, number of models. Like you could see some model here based on the topography, higher Himalayas, lesser Himalayas, trans Himalayas, etc. Like this. These are the things when they collided from the with the Eurasian plate. This is the sketch of the Indian plate sketching colliding to heading towards the Eurasia and then collided, and you can see the journey through the equator and towards the northern pole. And we do see number of justifications for putting into the models, like there is a stratigraphic juxtaposition. You can see the down box. We can see some, it's based on the classification, based on the stratigraphic juxtaposition. Sometimes they do take into the subduction zone. Then they do take some models from the earthquake seismology data as well. So where the epicenters are located, they used to build a model of subduction and then the shallow thrusting and so many things onto it. I mean, I would say that there is a lot of supportive data available for modeling of this Himalayan fold belt in the frontal part as well as in the far part towards the Tarim Basin. If we summarize the things from the literature, then there is a problem that the already mentioned that collision has accounted the shortening, and then we can see the strata which has been involved are also the igneous sedimentary, meta-sedimentary units involved into this. They range from Precambrian to recent in age. So that is the whole unit which has been evolved into the deformation in this part of the continent. Here, I would say that I would take into account the second bullet, that there is a Zangska Kashmir basin which is present in the northeast, has been regarded as the Tatian Himalayan and comprises of Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic sedimentary stratigraphy. Here, the complete stratigraphy is available to consider and review. Then sometime it happens when you move around across the basin, you miss the sedimentary record. It happens before the Paleozoic level, for the Mesozoic sedimentary stratigraphy level in the outer Himalayan fold belt, which requires explanation. And I do have one of the explanation that could be the erosional or non-depositional. Do we have some clue for that? I mean, that we need to bring something into it. I might be sharing with very weak idea onto it that might be available in the gravity data slide. Then there are some Cambrian metasediments and associated volcanics are reported between MBT and Panjal thrust. This is a significant because Panjal thrust, I do believe, is a past of a rifted environment volcanisms. So they prove that their rifting has happened into this area, and then the building blocks has been created in this part of the basin. And there is one controversy that there is a lot of age dating, radioactive and the other age dating. There are a number of years, numbers, timing. There are ambiguities into it for the volcanics and the plutonic bodies in the history. So there is an issue with this topic to deal for consistency of the age dating in this part. But anyway, we have to move with this. Now, I would say what would be our recent understanding onto this, which I am saying that we are talking about the outer Himalayan fold belt of Kashmir. Basically, I'm going to apply this outer Himalayan fold belt of Kashmir to the region of the terrain, which is trending north, northwest, south, southeast in direction. You can see a bullet onto it, outer Himalayan fold belt. It is just very well elaborated south of Kashmir basin and towards the Jhelum fault. So what you can say, there is no need to say that it is bounded in the west by Jhelum fault and Potwar basin and Zangska and the Kashmir in the north. So I'm talking about that zone. So it is this region has gone through the Mesozoic rifting stage and Cenozoic collision stage. During the Himalayan orogeny and pre-Himalayan Sumerian rifting stage. The models of the syntaxial banding include wrapping. There is a syntaxial band, which is this band here, and it has been worked out by Wadia and by other authors. They said it's basically the intending of the plate that has made this feature, or by the rotation of the plate that made this feature. This is a wrap of the thrust sheet, they call it as. Now, I would say that another thing which is highlighted here is the Kashmir Valley, that is regarded as intramountain basin. In last presentation, Dr. Nadeem was referring the Peshawar as an intramountain basin, and this is a Kashmir, which is an intramountain basin. Now, then my task starts from here, from the previous understanding and our understanding and what has been published in the literature. I will be taking you through the journey of the tectonic history. Lower three globes are representing the extensional rifting stages, and the upper three, they are representing the compressional, when Indian plates start moving and collided. And on the other side, you can see some block diagrams. They are trying to explain the extensional to the inversion steps of the deformation during these all the evolution stage. Now, in this recent understanding, we have to consider few points. That we have to consider the story of Paleotethys and Neotethys around northern margin of Indo-Pakistani plate. Why? Because we need to consider the extensional deformations into it that would get into inverted during the story of collision with Eurasia. So at the end, we have 4 stages of deformation for the basin. This would include marginal sagging and setting of earlier basin during the Gondwana rifting. That was the rifting stage. Then rifting and subsidence of basin and deposition of sediments during Permian till Cretaceous time. And then the inversion of structural features by collision and subduction of Indo-Pakistani plate below Eurasia. And likewise, I mean, there are geothermal spikes which came and modified the area, created the meta-sediments, metamorphosed because of the higher geothermal gradient. That's also a part of this episodic events. Here I would now start to go through a little detail for the how the basin was set and what were we looking into the rifting stage. At the time of between late Carboniferous, we do see the Paleotethys, mid-oceanic ridge. This is a mid-oceanic ridge. We can see Paleotethys. This is a Eurasia. And we can see this is present between the eastern Gondwana. You can see Indo-Africa. That was a part of the eastern Gondwana, and we can see that. What we can infer from this setting, we may infer that the basin which was set into this region of Indo-Pakistani plate would be going through the interior to marginal sagging stage of deposition. So we do believe that there is a possibility of deposition in that kind of setting, tectonic setting. So next comes the stage of mid-Permian. Because I quickly jump into the mid-Permian, there is a same story that continued from that to this. So at the mid-Permian stage, then there was a rifting of stages happened. Paleo, mid-oceanic, you may say ridge, or the phase 1 ocean. Paleotethys 1 was being close between Eurasia and the North Tibet plate. This is North Tibet continent that was separated from the Sumerian continent from the south, and there was in between, there is another ocean that has been created, which was the, you may say it as the Tethys 2. I just don't want to number, but this is possible, we can say. So Sumerian rifting, separation of Sumeria from Gondwana, that includes India. Further to the southeast corner, you may say this is a Sumeria, and then there is another rift being developed during Sumeria, and then we can see the India, and that is possible. Here we might have the margin there that might have gone through these number of stages of deformation, which includes the interior marginal sagging stage 2, the fracturing, and subsidence of the basin, and the sedimentation and the volcanism. Now, at the Permian, why Permian Sumerian rifting is important for us to understand, because we do see the Panjal trap of the Permian origin, and they are the volcanics. They have been formed at this stage timing when this North Tibet was separated from the Samaria, and Samaria was separated from the India, that margin, and then the volcanic activity occurred, and I have shown you in black that possibility of over spreading of volcanics above the rifted blocks which are Host and Gravens. That is the obvious end of this east rift which do take place in any part of the world. Here we come to the late Permian stage. We do see that the Sumerian block totally separated from here. You can see in there is another Paleo mid-oceanic ridge 3 that has been developed between the Samaria and the India. While this Sumerian block being moved towards the North Iran and then the Eurasia, that was going to close this ridge 2 or the ocean floor 2. And in that stage, what happened that could be happening, that the fracturing of the basin be happening, subsidence being happening, volcanism could be there, and sedimentation might be ongoing. This slide would be showing you that the Paleo Tethys 3 that is being widened up, and this Sumerian block is being colliding with the Eurasia and also with the northwest Iran in that part. Again, I would say major activity in the basin was sedimentation and subsidence that has been happened onto the margin. So to this stage, that is the early Jurassic stage, I would say that all this Sumerian block that collided with the Eurasia, and then that ocean floor or the Tethys Sea closed, which was the Tethys Sea phase 2, and it has been sutured. Again, I would say the sedimentation and subsidence was a part of the activity that happened in the northeastern margin of this Indo-Pakistani plate. Here comes the point of interest, the point of turn, you may say, that when at the time of late Cretaceous, the Indian plate started to rift away from the Madagascar and from Africa and started to move and drift northward. During this stage, I would say that the sediment, besides sedimentation, the things get uplifted, and then we can see the erosion, we can see the onset of the inversion. Here in this slide, in this sketch of cartoons, we can see we have a data of Sargodha High, and in Sargodha High, we can see the removal of number of sediments, whole of the Cretaceous and Jurassic and Triassic, and part of Permian has been removed. While in the north margin there was the onset of the inversion, the extensional feature they started to develop into the compressional tectonics. That the rifting of the India started from the Madagascar, along with Madagascar from Africa, and started drifting northward. And it was a time that the Tethys Sea present between the Eurasia and the Indian plate, that you may refer it as the phase 3, this started being closed. At that time, I would predict that there would be the sedimentation on some parts of the northern margin of the Indo-Pakistani plate, together with the uplifting and then the erosion. This was the time of onset of the inversion of the rifted blocks, particularly the faults which were dipping to the north. Then they were first will be inverted into the compressional faults, thrust faults that might had happened. You can see in the third cartoon of this, there is a possibly a patch. First it gets folded and wrapped up, and then in the north, then it starts some build up of this inversion block. But the data which we collected from the Sargodha High, that was quite amazing, that we do see the Sargodha High. This is the red and the lowest most
cartoon into this, you can see in this part that Sargodha High has uplifted during at the time of late Cretaceous, and then the erosional removal has happened. From this high, I can present the seismic data onto it, but at the moment this was not possible to continue with too much data set. But we sketch it, the interpretation, and we do see that the whole of the shallow sedimentation has been either not deposited or then later on again removed by the second uplift time. Then comes the time of the Eocene, where we could see the collision of the Indian plate with the Eurasia at this point, and we do see the uplifting, erosion, inversion, and then the thrusting of the block. The ocean present between the Eurasia and the Indian plate, that was the Tethys 3, I would say, that was closed, and we have opened now our present ocean. You can see the Carlsberg Ridge present in the south, and that has been existing at the present. And also we can see some Arabian plate that has been rifted from the African along the Red Sea. That is the same time which has happened, and Arabian plate started colliding with the Eurasian block. Here comes the time of Miocene, when it get collided entirely, and then lot of inversion has happened, folding and thrusting has taken place into it. That is the case. So let's talk about what is the probable outcome of the rifting stage. You can see these diagrams. These are the sketches, right from the sagging to the internal fracturing, then to the volcanism, and then also along with the sedimentation. This could be the possible outcome of the rifting stage along the northwestern margin of the Indo-Pakistani plate. The features has been preserved in this part of the block, in this part of the northwestern Himalayan fold belt. We can demonstrate those in the next slides. This is an outcome of the collisional stage. You can say that the inversion has taken place. It's being inverted from rifting to the compression and then ultimate collision stage. You can see the inversion, and also in the last Oligocene to recent stage, in the bottom part there is a cartoon of it. We can see the thrusting and then the inversion of the strata. Now, in the real sense, that was the story. This is what we see in the real sense. This is again an outcome of after the collision stage. At the present, if we stand on this part of the outer Himalayan fold belt, prominently we see the collisional features. Hardly see the extensional features into it, but we do see the little changes in thicknesses from one area to another area. That is telling possible erosion and removal, or maybe the non-deposition on the highs which were uplifted during the stage of the extension. And then we may say, okay, there is a volcanic activity which was basically belongs from the Panjal volcanics, and that had happened in the Permian stage, that it was a part of rifting. So these are the evidences, but plus there is another evidence. I will talk on the gravity map, but in the hanging wall of north of Muzaffarabad, Kotli and Riyasi thrust system, that confirms the presence of fold line. Here you see this is Riyasi and that is the Kotli. I'm talking about this fold line up to the Muzaffarabad, and we can see, I'll show you in next slides the cross sections. You will see the folding into it. We can see these folds, and this fold line has been intercepted by the faults to the deeper pre-Cambrian level, thus yielding possible detachment to the deeper Cambrian level, or otherwise it might be the basement involved inversion. That could be the another possibility. You can say that the Riyasi, Kotli, Riyasi and then Kotli and then the other inliers are the real indicator of the such deformation of the folding. You will see the slide in next. And moving from northeast of the such deformation, it would not be logical to assume the absence of major folding and thrusting both in the north and in the south of this major fold, which is called MFT. So I believe on this that, and while south of this fold structure, there may be a possibility of the platform strata belongs from the Punjab platform. Here is one cross section. This is a very regional cross section, right? Starting from the Zanskar to the Riasi, you can see that many things into it: folding, thrusting of the Proterozoic and Paleozoic, Mesozoic strata. And thus you can see the nappies and the folds are the obvious features into this kind of folding. That is one prominent cross section. This is a black line here in the map, and in the south we can see, and there are some imbrication, and you can see some naps into it. Entirely, I would say the entire strata has been folded and thrusted into this part of the Himalayan fold belt. This comes another cross section. This is in between from Muzaffarabad, which is A here, to A dash, crossing the Nasuri section, and you can see at the bottom this in the left side you can see the stratigraphy that has been involved into this deformation. But in the bottom section you can see GF is the Jhelum fault and MT is the Muzaffarabad thrust, and then in between MBT to Muzaffarabad thrust to MBT and to Punjab thrust, you can see number of folds present and preserved in this cross section, and you can traverse through this road along and you can practically see and map all the lithologies and the faults through this cross section. And you reach to the Nusari point where you can easily see the Panjal traps, and you can see the volcanics, and you see the lava flows, pillow lavas, and many features into it, and the sites type of rocks, and those are clear reflections of the oceanic and the domain was of rifting stage. This is another cross section of the Riasi Lopri section present here. You can see in this inset map the Riasi, and then Kalakot, and then Kotli, and then the Muzaffarabad fold line. And in the back there is a Lopri, and this is a part of the frontal Himalayan fold belt. You may see some folding into it. These are the surface features that has been already documented by some authors. We can see the Riasi anticline in layers present. It is basically the exposure of the Proterozoic Saravan limestone capped by the Eocene limestone rocks, and we can see the section here, clear section. The Saravan formation is overlain by the Proterozoic Saravan formation is overlain by the Sabatu formation of the Eocene level in this, but it is folded, and whole folding is being continued towards the MBT side. Based on these cross sections and based on the offset seismic, what we did, we came to prepare and compile a cross section from the MBT towards the MFT and then to the foreland area towards Punjab platform. But in the offset, how it gets supported, you can see that this is at seismic data from the offset in the Nepal area. You can see this blue fault is MBT, and you can see the south of MBT some structures. But in this cross section line 109, you can see the subthrust part of the MBT, and then you can see the upthrown part above the MFT. There is a folding into it, and also into the frontal part of this MBT, we can see the minor folding and thrusting of the strata. That means how we come to this model that if the things are present in the offset, and if we continue that trend towards the in this Himalayan part of Kashmir, then we do expect this kind of the cross section be supported by the surface geology supported by the offset seismic data, we can model that possibility of this kind of folding that is valuable. It sets a trap into it. Whatever stratigraphy has been involved, if carries the reservoir seal and source, then definitely we would be having some trapping mechanism established here valid for the hydrocarbon exploration. So if we talk about the details of this cross section, then it is basically the Riasi Muzaffarabad fold line in the southwest and MBT in the north borders the folding and thrusting, which can be the most likely involved into the deeper levels that maybe detached or maybe the basement involved. And folds south of Muzaffarabad Kotli thrust are also another data set. You can also see Google onto the land, Google image, and you will find out some folding into this area, and those are the folds south of Muzaffarabad Kotli thrust, and they belong from the foreland part, and they end into the Punjab platform. Here I will highlight, if you see my cursor, the section 2 and towards 3 and 4. These are the two folds that has been elaborated here. I do see them in the Google image, and I posted them basically in the Murray formation, but we believe that below Murray there is a reservoir that has been folded. We cannot predict where is the depth of the basement, but possibly either it would be detaching above the basement or it might be involved into the basement. That's why basement has been carried as a hash line. Then towards the Punjab platform, which is 3 and 4 section, part of this section. So you do see that rifted are the extensional blocks, some truncation of these strata we have seen in this up towards Sargodha High in the previous section, and you can see in the seismic section. Anybody wants to see, I can share with the seismic data from my side, but that feature is present towards the Sargodha High, the extensional horse block and the tilted block geometry that has been preserved towards the Punjab platform or Jhelum plain area in that part. So we can now consider this section might have a value if we start from Sargodha High to MBT, crossing this all hanging wall feature. We do believe that this kind of the geometry of the structural trend and the stratigraphy might be preserved in this Himalayan fold belt from between MFT and MBT and in the footwall of the MFT. Now comes the point that what is the value of the gravity data if we take into account, do we see some key features into it? If gravity data give us some message that could be of some value, telling some story of the highs and lows, the regional Bouguer gravity map do coincide with the you may say here is a salt range outline here, and you can see that the depth of the basement is being increased towards north, but into this Kotli Kalakot side we do see some isolated area of closure of a high that is basically clearly overlapping towards the Kotli Kalakot Riasi fold line. So in the gravity map there is a possible signature, that is the regional Bouguer gravity map. Down is the overlay of the residual Bouguer gravity map. We can see number of features into it. We can see a high in Sargodha, which is in the south. We have overlain the salt range, and we can see low in Potwar, which is blue in color, and we do see median high again, which is this arrow in Kotli Kalakot area. We do see some low in the Riasi area, which is blue area in this end, and we do see surprisingly a major high in the north, which is here. That is a high at the end of the map. So that is the critical feature. Why we have this high towards that, because it's moving from low towards the higher side. It tells that there is something from the deeper is being elevated, might be the peripheral doming or maybe the bulging of the some feature at the time of rifting, when the Sumerian plate started rifted from this, then definitely there will be some bulge that might have happened, and half of that part high have been preserved in here, rest might have gone to the other part of the detached land mass. So this has a value. This high has a value in order to address the truncation issues. Like maybe if this thing has been removed from this high, all the stratigraphy, if we believe this has been deposited, like the Mesozoic and Paleozoic, if that has been deposited in this part of the basin. So there are two theories: either we believe it is deposited and eroded, or non-deposited. To me, I think something has been deposited and eroded. We do see some erosional elements into the Tobra and the other formations. The unconformities are speaking about those erosional boundaries. So I would say that the Sumerian and oral history of rifting support first the assumption of the deposition and erosion scenario. The residual gravity map suggests presence of most likely high in northeast trending northwest. So it favors the phenomena of bulging during the rifting and then removal of sediments, which are the Paleozoic and Mesozoic sediments from the high. And then I would say there is a metamorphism and then a lot of other phenomena. That after the gravity, we should talk about the offset seismic. Why? Because what do we see in this Himalayan fold belt? Do we see some obvious features, the MFT, MBT, or any structures below and above the MFT in the real data? Yes, we do see, but not in the Kashmir area where we don't have the seismic, where we do see the data in the offset area, Nepal and the adjacent area of India. We do see some seismic, and they tells us the story of presence of subthrust folding and the uplifted folds in the hanging wall, and in the subthrust towards the platform area in Tarai plains, we do see some extensional fault blocks that tells the story of again the rifting that has been preserved along this margin of the Indo-Pakistani plate. Again, another data set telling you the story of folding and thrusting. This is again a seismic. You can see a clear fold pop up below the MBT, above the MBT in the hanging wall, and below the MBT we do see some monoclinal geometries, but here in this lower part section we can see two anticlinal folds. There is an uninterpreted version of the seismic line below, and you can see both the faults, and these folds has been elaborated and mapped in the outcrop that has been shown in the map in the Landsat. Coming to the foreland trap, yes, there is a possibility. A foreland trap could be present in the south of the MFT, and I trust that that might be pop-up or the extensional blocks. Anything could be available that could be extending towards the Jhelumri entrant and towards the Punjab platform area. That might have some value. If we will explore, we will find out some features through seismic. That would be the only means to look into this. So coming towards the probability of the hydrocarbon plays. Now I would say, taking into consideration of the tectonics, structures, stratigraphy, and from the stratigraphy we take into account the reservoir source seals. Obviously we do see them. There are high probability of presence of the structures, stratigraphic traps, reservoirs, source, and seals. Obviously we need to discuss on maturation and migration pathways. Question is whether they are present or not. Obviously it's $1 million question. Now I've come to the point that where we talk about the seeps in the front of the Himalayan frontal fold belt. These all the triangles are indicating right from the east, from Nepal, through Nepal and then towards Kashmir. All the triangles are marked for the presence of seep along this frontal fold belt. that has a value into it. So it means there are some data available, and that hydrocarbon has been generated, that has been known through the wells as well as from the seeps. I will share some seeps. But in this location of Nepal, reds are basically the gas and blue are the oil seeps. They are present in the location on this marked on the Google image. So also the well data is there, which are black in dot. So we can see some presence of the hydrocarbon seep of the Paleozoic and Tertiary age, which is preserved in this part. So that might be extending as per the previous image. We can see the continuity of those seeps towards the Kashmir basin. Here is one location towards close to the Kashmir basin, and that is the Kanthan seep, from where the gas sample has been collected from the Murray Formation, at the contact of Murray Formation and near the river, from the brachiated units. That is where we came. We can see the location of Kanthan, and we can see this is the present between in the Riasi outlier area, and the geochemical study of this gas seep shows that it has gained the maturity and it has a level of CH4, which is the basically the good hydrocarbon, the oil. This the CH4. This suggests a possible shallow source with biogenic origin. Probably a potential source horizon is present, which has a higher TOC in this area 2.5. Another slide from Kohat Potwar and then to the Kashmir basin, the Starik and the circle area is showing the presence of a seep very close to the Muzaffarabad. Again, that has been documented by the MOL workers when they were working in their own block. But the rest of the oil seeps have been documented in the past by many authors. You can see the oil seeps along MBT. There are more oil seeps in the basin. I haven't put into intentionally, but they are not relevant for any concern with the frontal Himalayan fold belt. Only one seep has a value which is very close to it, and it might be we can take into consideration. Now coming for the kitchen, how do we trust that we do have a kitchen in this part of basin? Again, the offset data from Nepal. The lower Paleozoic in Nepal, they became to the into the geothermal gradient regime. The rocks being overcooked, metamorphosed, and so the geothermal gradient is high. In that part of area, we believe that the window for the Paleozoic level is of medium stage, and for the Tertiary level, there is a presence of a window for the potential kitchen area. So do we believe that this type of kitchen area can be extended towards the Kashmir basin or towards the other part? Here is a sketch of Google, and I draw a polygon through Nepal towards the Kashmir, which is the red, or you may say a different color into it, basically showing you probable trend of this kitchen extending towards this Kashmir. Already basically this is a part of the 4 deep area. That's why we believe that there is a temperature, there is a geothermal gradient, rocks may be cooked, and here the seep is also associated in this region. So it might be a possibility that you can continue this kitchen from east to west, right from Assam towards this Kashmir basin. Then comes the ultimate units of interest, the source, the reservoir, and the seal rocks. What are the options for us to consider? If we work for the section through Muzaffarabad towards north, then we can see some lithologies. We can see Hangu Formation, Lokad, Patala, Margala, Chorgali, Kuldana. They carries carbonates, shales, some sandy beds into it. So obviously we can say there are fractures into it. We believe, okay, if the carbonate it is fractured, maybe a candidate for the reservoir. And if we see some sands in the Hangu, maybe there is a candidate for the Sandy reservoir. If we see some shales into it, which we do see, obviously these are the interbedded seals, and also possible a source rock into it. Below is the Cambrian part, which is again a dolomite, and dolomite itself has an ability to be a reservoir. I trust that one candidate is in the Cambrian level. So again, we can have some input from the data set within the area, within the basin. Yes, we do see potential source rock, potential reservoirs and seal rocks in this part of Himalayan fold belt. This is the lithology of that, all the section which we have seen in the Muzaffarabad area. So obviously I mentioned it, I don't want to go into detail, but coming to the last slide, do we believe that if we summarize the AJK potential system, then I would say yes, there is a play for the Proterozoic section, but it is very deep and may be overcooked because of the higher geothermal gradient. There are some reservoir source into it, but even if it is overcooked, then it has no value. If we talk about the Paleozoic play, it has a restricted distribution, possibly rich in gas potential in south and western part, because it gets shallowest towards south, and in the west, obviously, it is again became shallow. I have shared you the first slide where it has, second slide where it has been shown a continuity of the Paleozoic being shallowing towards the west. Coming to the Mesozoic play, obviously potential of oil source, possible restricted distribution in the north and south of MBT. We do see some presence of rock in the Muzaffarabad and in the north, but they are very restricted. If there is a low, if there is a graben, these features might be preserved, not eroded below the base tertiary unconformity. I do trust on to those features because that's the beauty of the extensional rifting consideration. In this part, you might get some, you might come across from the graben features that might get inverted, and those features might have been preserved in this part as a Mesozoic play. The tertiary play, obviously, that we have seen in the Muzaffarabad area, and we do see them in the Riyasi, Kalakot, and the other inliers. Obviously, these rocks are exposed and they are fractured and they are carbonate. They are the reservoirs in this area. So there is no more need to think on it. We can consider them. We go to the outcrop, reevaluate it, put them into the basket, put the other features into the basket, acquire the seismic. Maybe there is some story that could be built from this kind of assumptions. And I think that might be the one concluding slide from my presentation. Hope you have gone through this and you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.